think about this habit. We're saying the words silently in our head right now when we read. If you say all the words silently in your head, doesn't that mean you can only read as fast as you talk? Is there a limit to how fast you can talk? Right, unless you're not really reading that fast, unless you do maybe the disclaimers at the end of commercials. Okay? Was anybody faster out loud? Was anybody faster than 400 words a minute out loud? Okay, I don't see any hands go up. How about faster than 300? Okay, no hands go up. By the way, when I do these workshops in New York, you know how they call them fast-talking New Yorkers? There's always about half the room that'll raise their hand. Over 300 words a minute. But, for the most part, how many people are in the range of 100 to 300? Raise your hand. Okay, all of us are talking somewhere in this range of 100 to 300 words a minute. And remember I told you that after the age of 12, most people don't make an improvement in their speed? Well, this is the reason why. If we're saying all the words in our head, that means we can only read as fast as we talk, not as fast as we think, which is a lot faster. And remember I told you this was the average reading range, 150 to 250? Guess what the average talking range is? Same thing. Okay? So these are 3 habits that need to be changed. And also, think about your comprehension here. A lot of people will still argue, okay, well, I think I need to say the words in my head in order to understand it. It helps me with my comprehension. Well, when you were reading out loud, how did your comprehension feel out loud versus in your head? For some of you, it may have felt worse saying the words out loud. Actually, a lot of people will feel this way. Why? Because when you're saying the words out loud, you're concentrating on vocalizing the words. It doesn't guarantee you're going to get any comprehension by just reciting the words. You guys remember in high school, every so often, the teacher would ask somebody to get up in front of class, read out loud. Maybe that person was you. Every so often, you'd get picked on to do it. And you ever get the follow-up question? It's like, so, what did you just read? Or what did the person really try to say here? And you just have a blank face, and you have no clue, but despite reading it out loud, it doesn't mean you're going to understand it. So if you think about what's happening in your brain, when you're reading and saying words in your head, part of your brain is doing what it should be doing. It's thinking. It's thinking, okay, what's the main idea here? What are the details? What's coming next? The other part of your brain is just saying words. And is it possible that one part of your brain that's saying words is distracting the other side from thinking? Or taking away resources from thinking? That's definitely possible, and that's the case. Even though a lot of people feel it's helping them with the comprehension. In a lot of ways, it distracts us. Okay? So what we need to do is we have to change these 3 habits. Fixation, regression, auditory reassurance. How are we going to change them? How do you get better at anything? What do you got to do? Practice, right? So we're going to practice reading. So I'm going to write out what practice is. You can write it down if you want as well. This is going to be pretty important. Let me write it out first, and then I'll explain how we're going to do it. Okay. When we practice, we're going to be doing 4 things. Okay? First thing I want you to know, we're going to practice this material, but when we're practicing, we are not actually going to be reading. Okay? It might sound a little odd, but it's not as odd as you think. Think about when you practice other things like, say, an instrument or a sport. Basketball's in season right now, so let's talk about how do you practice basketball. If a basketball player wants to get better, would a basketball player just play games? Probably not, right? That's probably not the best way to practice, okay? If a basketball player wants to get better, most people would say, okay, well, there's 3 key areas that a basketball player's got to work on. Offense, defense, and strength and conditioning. Can you work on all 3 at the same time? Not efficiently. For example, you can't bench press and work on your dribbling at the same time, unless you want to kill yourself, right? Or you can't work on offense and defense at the same time. Usually there's drills for offense, drills for defense, exercises for strength and conditioning. But we work on each area separately, and then we pull it all together in a game for a basketball player. With reading, we have the same thing. We have 3 areas, okay? With reading, instead of offense, defense, and strength and conditioning, we have speed, comprehension, and retention. Okay? Can we work on all 3 at the same time? No. That's what we do. We pull it together when we read. Okay? But when we're working on each area, we can't do them all at the same time. So we're going to start, when we practice this material, we're going to start by practicing and working on our speed first. Okay, we're not going to worry about comprehension and recall just yet. We're going to start by working on speed. We'll worry about those later. Okay? The way we're going to do this is you have some material that you just read. The first minute was reading in your head. The second minute was reading out loud. What we have to do is, the first thing, you have to be using your hand. You can use your hand like this, or you can use your finger, or you can use a pen or pencil if that feels more comfortable for you. Okay, why am I going to ask you to use your hand? Well, what did you do when I asked you to count the number of lines? You probably used your hand or a pen, right? Did anybody just look at it and go 27? No. It's easier when you just count them up like this. And this is because your eyes are naturally attracted to motion. Okay? If somebody walked through this door right now, most of us would look because we see some motion. Or if there was a bumblebee flying around here, it would be a little distracting. Do you guys agree? One, because it's a bee. And two, because it's creating some motion, and we're naturally wired to look at motion. So we're going to take advantage of the fact that our eyes are attracted to motion. We're going to create motion on the page. Okay, that's the first thing that we're going to do. The second thing that you have to do is just see the words. What I mean by that is just look at the words. I know it sounds obvious, but here's the difference. We're just going to look at the words. We're not going to worry about reading the words. Okay, remember we said we're just going to focus on speed? Think of this drill as a hand-eye coordination drill. You're just going to be looking at words. We don't care about our comprehension, and here's why. Number 3, I'm going to force you to go faster. That's why I don't care about your comprehension during these drills. We're working on speed, so I want you to start getting used to seeing words at a very, very quick rate. Okay, the whole logic behind this approach is before you start reading and understanding things faster, you just have to get used to seeing them faster. Does that make sense? Once we start getting used to seeing them faster, then we can say, okay, now that I know how to see words very quickly, how do I actually understand them this quickly? We're not going to try to work on both at the same time. Okay, so we'll just start by working on our speed. And the last thing you have to do is concentrate. Okay? The way I'm going to get you to go faster is, remember this first line was 1 minute of reading, and then we read another minute. So the second line here, from the beginning to the second line, is 2 minutes of reading. Okay? The first drill that we do, you have to use your hand, and you have to look at the words, but you have to make it to this 2-minute line in 1 minute and 20 seconds. Okay? You only have 1 minute and 20 seconds to get to the line that you read up to in 2 minutes. So you have to go faster. The main goal of the drill is you have to make it to this line. Okay? So you're just going to move your hand a little quicker, and you're going to make it there. Now, when you make it to that line, if there's still time left, don't go past your line. When you make it to the line, go back to the beginning and keep on practicing the material. We have 1 minute and 20 seconds to get to our second line. You have to make it to your line, okay? A little faster. Okay, ready, set, go. Okay, stop. How many minutes to their line? Raise your hand. Okay, good. We're going to cut it down now to 1 minute and 10 seconds, so a little faster now.